So, this one's going to be about games and 6 gaming trends or 6 trends that are going to revolutionize games and or are at this point in time revolutionizing games and the whole game industry. And it's something pretty interesting. So therefore, more after the intro. As always, as every day. And I'm pumped. I'm pumped for the podcast. I'm pumped. And with that being said, hello, welcome back. Next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics fucking podcast. And I still just know that I'm having basically 2 intros and it's basically a little bit unnecessary. But yeah, I can have 2 intros, so I'm having 2 intros, I guess. But yeah, so for all the people that are just watching this video on YouTube, there is the link down in the description for the podcast. And it's to a page where you can also then choose on which platform you would like to be listening the podcast on, because you can just listen to this whole experience, to this whole video that you're just seeing there. You can listen to it, and you can listen to it on Spotify, on Google Podcast, on Apple Podcast, on Stitcher, on Castbox, on quite every platform. And at my point of view, there's definitely upsides of listening to the whole experience and listening to the whole video, because at my point of view, it is way more efficient and maybe even more effective if you can learn through audio a little bit better than through video and through reading and whatnot. But yeah, this is what the podcast is going to be all about. No, it's not going to be about podcast. So this podcast, as I said before, is going to be about gaming, and it's pretty interesting. And I find it really, really cool that gaming isn't having such a stigma any longer. That gaming is actually cool at this point in time. It actually is cool, some sorta. And I'm just having in front of me an article by Andreessen Horowitz, which is actually the company from Ben Horowitz, and I don't know the other name from the other guy, but his last name is Andreessen or Andreessen. I'm not quite sure. But it's actually a pretty interesting article since it is all about gaming, and I really believe in gaming in the future. Because I totally, we have seen it, and they also just show a little bit of data here, then just in the very beginning of the whole article, that gaming is just such a trendy thing at this point in time. It has always been, and I've always seen that games on, for example, YouTube have always been performing really nice compared to podcasts and compared to other things. They really have performed nicely and amazingly, and, I really have to say that it isn't just, it's not surprising for me, to be honest. It really is not, because games are really cool. And I wouldn't consider myself a gamer. And I wasn't considering myself a gamer back then in the days where I actually have been playing. Because at this point in time, I've actually thought I shouldn't play games. I shouldn't play FIFA on the weekends. First of all, I think it's actually a pretty good decision. Unless I'm actually recording it and then uploading it again, which might be something, and which is also really something that I'm thinking about. Because, I don't know, if there's actually a future in gaming, then probably I should get into it. Because I've always liked playing games, and I still like playing games. I do not just like the feeling of playing games and then just having the feeling of being unproductive. But if it is your living, then it's definitely fucking productive to play games. But I'm really into this, and I'm really looking forward to this article, and I'm also really looking forward to the future and what the future will be about, because a lot of people have been talking about esports being way, way, way popular than regular sports, which I think is at this point in time actually already the case. So in the future, it's definitely going to be the case. But now I think it is actually also the case. Such a lot of people are watching the esports tournaments and esports live streams and whatnot. It's really amazing. It's really amazing to see that, because back in the days, if you've been a nerd, then you've been a fucking piece of shit, basically. And nowadays, it's cool. And I really like that. I really like that change in culture. I really like to just see some change there. The change of the stigma around gaming and around being a gamer and whatnot. So State of Play, 6 Trends Revolutionizing Games by Jonathan Lay and Andrew Chen from the a16z.com website, which is actually the website of Ben Horowitz and his partner from Andreessen and Horowitz, which is Andreessen and Horowitz, I guess because of the Z, I don't know. And yeah. So games have come a long way since Pong, consisting of a single white pixel bouncing across the screen, a crude simulation of table tennis. The 1972 arcade classic was the nascent gaming industry's first hit. Since then, games have grown from a niche hobby into a dominant force in the entertainment industry. Last year, Rockstar's Red Dead... It's actually already last year, I still just know the time or the day where Red Dead Redemption 2 was announced, and it's been such an amazing game. I've just really liked watching some videos on it, And it's actually been the main part of what I've been doing on these days. I've been watching some videos besides actually having the podcast and whatnot. So I still was doing the podcast, but I was so interested in the game. I was so interested because it looked so good. And there were so many different game mechanics, and it's just been amazing. It's just really been amazing. And Red Dead Redemption 2 grossed $725 million in its opening weekend, eclipsing Hollywood's weekend box office record, the $640 million blockbuster Avengers Infinity War. It's insane. First of all, I have to say that $640 million is already really insane. It's already really big. But $724 million, but I can also understand that, since a game is going to last way longer. I do think that Red Dead Redemption may consist of 50 hours of playtime, I guess. Some sort of, it still depends on how good you are and how fast you are and whatnot, compared to Infinity War, which is 2 hours, 3 hours maybe. I think it's actually a pretty long movie, but I'm not quite sure. Next generation games will be bigger than anything we have seen yet. While current multiplayer successes like Roblox toot 100 million monthly active users, I didn't know that. I always thought that Roblox is actually just a meme. But why would it then exist at this point in time? I should have been thinking about it. New MMOs will strive for Facebook's scale 1 billion users. That's because the way we develop, discover and play games is rapidly evolving. The next generation of games will differ from the predecessors in 6 key ways. And there we're having 6 key ways. So we're having 6 categories. Basically, the first one is product. The second one is business model. The third one is platform, then marketing, IP and content. And there's just some, is it rows? I'm not quite sure. I'm really bad at that. I'm actually really bad at that. And then we're having old school games and then the next generation games. So the product is content at the old school game, which I would actually say that Red Dead Redemption is also just quote unquote content. At least I consider it content. And the new generation is going to be social networks. So games are going to be some sort of social networks, are going to be places where we first of all need people and also meet people. It's going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting. Business model, single transaction, and then the new generation is going to be games as a service. Platform, console, PC, and mobile. And the next generation is going to be cross-platform and cloud. Yeah, definitely. Marketing, traditional and retail, to influencer and social channels. I would actually say that this is already the case since, for example, Mr. Beast is quite often, and also PewDiePie and other, not necessarily gaming channels, which is pretty interesting, are promoting some games, especially mobile games. I have not seen up to this point somebody promoting a console game or PC game up to this point, but I could just, maybe I haven't seen it. IP, published by third parties, and the next generation is going to be self-published and owned. Content, developer-driven and then player-driven, which is UGC and or mods. There have always been mods in games, and it's a pretty cool thing if you can mod a game, which is unfortunately you were only able to do that in PC games up to this point, at least as I have seen it and as I have experienced it. Of course, you can also mod some PlayStation games and whatnot, but it is way more complex and way more difficult most often. Sometimes it's not, most often it is. The first point is, and there we're having 5-6 points and a few, so it's actually a relatively long article. I might go through the whole one and then just see if it is going well and whatnot, and if it is not going well, I think I'm going to just split it into 2 videos, maybe, because I don't know, do not want to have such a long video. Also because I have to upload it and maybe even edit it, but I'm not quite sure about the editing part though. Just because it might just be some live stream that you're uploading and whatnot. But yeah. So the first thing is games are the new mall and the new sports bar. So it is definitely going to be about meeting people, and it's going to be about basically being a social network. They are showing Fortnite off there, and I actually have to say that I'm agreeing to that. I'm really agreeing to that. But yeah, so games are the next social network. Fortnite looks more like Facebook than it does a traditional shooter game. Millions of players socialize in squads and custom games, often with no goal to win. For many, the battle royales has become secondary to the party, and that party can be pretty big. 11 million people attended Fortnite's live in-game Marshmallow concert at Rite earlier this year. I didn't know that. Why haven't I seen that? I should have seen. I really should. Even when not actively playing, users chat, interact, and watch others, which has propelled esports into the mainstream. The 2018 League of Legends finals attracted 200 million viewers, more than the Super Bowl and the NCAA Final Four combined. What started as a marketing tool to engage players has become a lifestyle. And this is insane. And I do not want to necessarily say that it is bad change in culture. I think it is just change, and change is always going to happen, and nobody can actually, we can, and big forces can actually somehow stimulate that and or manipulate that. But at my point of view, it's really not that easy, to manipulate change in culture. Maybe if it is about consciously doing it. I think subconsciously it has often been the case with musicians, with whatever, but there is always going to be change in culture. But the funny thing is, and the cool thing is that parents have always been, and other guys and whatnot have always been like, you shouldn't play games, you should do something for school, you shouldn't be just doing this and that. Maybe in the future it's going to be like, you shouldn't do something for your business, you should actually be playing games and be part of this community. Maybe I'm as a marketer, or I actually, the funny thing is, I sometimes actually consider myself a little bit more like a marketer than I am a designer. Even though I am a designer and maybe even a really bad marketer. But I sometimes feel like that I'm in space, I'm in both spaces actually. But yeah, the thing is, maybe in the future I'm just having to be on Fortnite, just because that I'm going to be in those sports bars, that I'm going to be in the malls, that I'm going to be able to socialize and interact with these people, basically then being where the attention is, which is actually the job of a marketer, I guess, I assume. I think, it would actually make sense. But yeah, and the second thing is, games are no longer on-off hits, but living franchises. Like we have seen with Fortnite, actually. I do really have to appreciate that Fortnite is able to just develop so many things. They're able to just keep the attention up and keep the motivation for somebody playing the game really high. They're keeping it up and just really, really fucking high, because there are always going to be new modes of the game. There are always going to be new characters, new skins, new items, new whatnot, and they are always developing the whole game. And I really like that. It's the same thing as League of Legends is doing at the point of time, which I also really liked, and I've also pointed it out in another episode as well. It's just insane. It's just amazingly good because they understand the consumer. Because at least I guess, of course, there's still some people that are playing CSGO, even though it is a relatively old game. And I do not know if there are some updates at this point in time. I guess actually not. But yeah, maybe it's also because of mods. Some people still play Skyrim just because it is a good game. And maybe just also because of the mods and whatnot. But it is amazing. It is amazing to see that companies actually care about the people that are playing the games and care about the people that are just in the community and that are using whatever you're producing. And it is good. And I have seen, and I clearly can somehow understand, and somehow through empathy just feel that they are doing it in a well way. That they are going to succeed in the future, and they are succeeding at this point in time just because they're so consumer centric and they so care about the people that are playing the game and those things. It's amazing. It's cool. It's cool to see that people are doing something. The second thing is, games are no longer, and I've already read that, so games have evolved beyond Hollywood-style releases to become live services that can thrive for years. Games used to release sequels every 3 to 5 years. Now live service games are updated with new content every month. These games as a service are continually reshaped by user feedback, dramatically extending player lifetimes. League of Legends, which celebrates its 10-year anniversary this week, hit a franchise high 8 million concurrent daily players last month. Blizzard's World of Warcraft, a 15-year-old game, set a new launch day record in August when 1.1 million people or players turned into Twitch to watch the release of Classic Mode, which is also something that I have seen and I've also appreciated, because I don't know, for me, at my point of view, World of Warcraft has been a pretty big game a few years ago. It is a pretty old game and whatnot, and it's somehow I do not know what they did wrong, but I still feel like, and I still know that some people are still playing it and have been playing it for the 15 years. But I don't know, maybe it's just because it wasn't free, and getting into the game was a little bit more difficult than in other games. For example, Fortnite, which is free, and which everybody can play and everybody can be good at and whatnot. and really fast-paced, of course there are going to be certain target groups there, of course. But I don't know. Maybe the classic mode they released is kind of the best thing they did in quite some while. Maybe. I don't know. The third is platform conversions will create massive hits. Historically, games have been segmented by platform, siloing players by PC, console, or mobile. This made it harder to play with friends and dampened network effects from multiplayer games. Today, engines like Unreal enable developers to deploy a single code base across multiple platforms. As cross-platform play becomes the new standard, multiplayer games will grow much faster and larger than older generations. Phoenix Labs' Dauntless, which is also a game that I've seen, but I haven't seen content of it. Unfortunately, I really wanted to just have a look at it because it seemed really interesting, but still. So Labs Dauntless, for example, quadrupled its player base in 3 weeks when it launched PC console crossplay. Fortnite 250 million player base is largely due to its ubiquitous presence on every platform, even though there's also going to be downsides of that. Like when you're playing on PC against somebody that is on his or her phone, you're obviously just going to be better. Unless there are some hacks involved and some gadgets and whatnot, which I'm just not assuming, which I'm not just putting into my equation here. But yeah, it is still a little bit unfair if you're playing with keyboard and mouse against somebody that is just having a touch screen. At least at this point in time. Maybe this will also change in the future, when developers actually have to take care of the aspect of people are going to play games and people are playing games, and it is actually a pretty huge market. But yeah, it's actually a really huge market. The fourth one is game discovery will be organic and social. Large publishers have traditionally spent millions marketing games in online ads, billboards, and TV commercials. Remember the 2015 Super Bowl ad for Game of War with Kate Upton. Now influencers on social channels like Twitch, Discord, and Reddit are driving game discovery. By cultivating key influencers and early adopter communities, developers will be able to self-publish instead of relying on conventional marketing tactics. This shift is already evident. The top 2 games of 2019, Respawn's Apex Legends and Riot's Teamfight Tactics, were both marketed primarily via Twitch streamers. Influencer marketing. I think it's just something that is working in every single market and is going to be working in every single market. The fifth one, and I think this is also one of the reasons why it is particularly important to build something. And I've also been thinking about why I'm actually doing this. Why am I sitting every single day for just an hour or just way longer? Because when I'm editing, when I'm having to produce some posts, when I'm having to post a post and whatnot in the blog post, it takes some time. It really takes some time. It's not that easy. Really not that easy. Especially because you have to do it for a consistent amount of time. And you have to be consistent with it, and it's just, you have to be patient, because it is not going to be something that you will achieve in the next 5 days. It just takes some time, and this is something that you have to be sure of. Therefore, first of all, doing something that you actually like to do is crucial. It's crucial for success, because nobody's having the energy to do something that he or she hates from the bottom of their heart to just until they actually become successful, because it can take some time. My biggest win up to this point is my 20k TikTok video, which is actually a really fucked up and shitty video, but still has gotten more than, I think it's 25k or something, 25k plays and 60 hours of playtime. And it is a 9-second video, 10-second video actually. It's just insane. It really is insane. But it will take some time. And I do think just because society is going to be way more in the social networks, and it's way more going to be in social media and into internet in general in the future, I think just because of that, it is particularly important to maybe have a brand that is in the internet and is just around social platform and is just here, I guess, here in a space where society is going to be in the future, here in a place where the future is going to just stay and be and exist. But I don't know, maybe this is just a way for me to to feel better about the time that I'm spending here. But yeah, it still feels cool, even though I'm at this point in time still having some problems with talking. I don't know why I'm having that. I don't know why there are some problems with me talking. I cannot tell. Maybe I'm just putting myself under too much pressure. Maybe I'm trying to do way more or be way better than I can be, or I don't know. Let's go ahead. The next Marvel universe will be born from games. The next big movie franchise, theme park, or toy line will likely come from games. Players are spending thousands of hours interacting with game stories and characters, from the minute world building of World of Warcraft to the handcrafted narratives of Naughty Dog's The Last of Us. As a result, many developers are moving away from a publisher-led financing model to a venture capital model that enables them to maintain ownership over their IP. And the sixth one is consumers are co-creators. New tools empower players to create their own content in the form of mods, maps, items, or game modes. Player modes have even spawned entirely new genres like PUBG. Because PUBG began life as an Arma 2 mod, DayZ Battle Royale and League of Legends was heavily inspired by the Warcraft 3 mod Dota. User-generated content allows games to scale quickly and cost efficiently, or also effectively. Rather than building everything in-house, developers can turn the keys over to the community. UGZ also has the potential to go viral. A video of a player recreating the Star Trek Enterprise in Minecraft, for example, raked up nearly 13 million YouTube views. And the long view. In our view, next generation games will grow faster and larger than today's hits, fueled by network effects from platform convergency, organic social discovery, and user-generated content. These games will be truly global, connecting players around the world, and as the live service model becomes increasingly common, successful franchises will flourish for decades as both entertainment and social hubs. At A16Z, we believe the games industry is in the midst of a tectonic shift. Better yet, we believe that we are still in the early stage of that transition as technologies like cloud streaming, blockchain computing, and 5G emerge. It's why we are invested in companies like Bonfire Studios, Singularity 6, Oculus, and Improbable, and why we've built a dedicated games team to lead our strategy going forward, with a focus on seed and Series A rounds. We are really excited about the future of games and look forward to partnering with companies and founders who share our wisdom. I'm also really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what is going to come and just enjoying what is going to come, because there is going to be something. There is going to be some news. But yeah, it's going to be the end of the episode. The link to this article, if you want to check it out as well, and if you also want to check out the website as well, is going to be down in the description and also in the show notes if you're on the podcast. But yeah, I wish you the best health, of happiness, and also success. And I also hope that you're going to remind yourself when you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy, because we can all just be nicer people, and we all just can be a little bit more kind and kindness and whatnot, and then being remembered as nice people. We can do that. But the problem there is that we're 7.7 billion people on this planet, which means that there is going to be some people that hate you or just dislike you. It is what it is. Like, there's no way around that. Maybe. But yeah, 3 other questions that I'm having for you is: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? And those 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea. Since a lot of companies started out with solving something and or just fixing something that really pissed them off. At least the founders, not the whole company necessarily, but the founders at least. And so therefore, it's maybe going to also show you a business idea. Until then, I hope you subscribe to the podcast and also to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of the valuable content that I'm putting out on a daily basis. Down in the description, there's also going to be the links to my social media channels, like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. So please check it out. I'm going to see you there, and I'm also going to see you the next time. I'll see you.